The idea of walking around with a coffee cup, it has this brand name on it, it's fashionable. It's a part of Western modern living. And in the modern world, the paper cup is so iconic of what modern life means. It's something that we can throw away.
About 60 billion paper cups are thrown away in the US every year. In New York City alone, that number is 1.5 billion cups. That makes out to be about 185 cups per person thrown away every year. Single-use items were introduced to American society after World War I, just as the recycling movement began to take off.
So food service packaging was designed over 100 years ago really as a way to promote public health and provide a sanitary drinking experience. The story goes that there was a Kansas doctor named Dr. Samuel J. Crumbine, and he really pushed for the idea of some sort of single-use item that would help to provide a sanitary drinking experience. And we've frankly done countless studies that show the sanitary benefit of a single-use item over a reusable item. At the same time, two brothers on the East Coast came up with what is now known as the Dixie Cup. And it was essentially a piece of paper that was almost shaped like a cone. They wrapped it up. Before it was called the Dixie Cup, it was actually called the Health Cup. That's how they marketed it, because it really was all about health.
Now you need a patented laminated bottom, so you can seal your cup so tight nothing leaks out.
Nearly a century later, the US still hasn't figured out how to recycle single-use items like paper cups.
Every cup that's out there, essentially, unless it's a compostable cup, is paperboard that's lined with polyethylene. The paper is lined so that it keeps the cup from leaking, keeps the beverage a little bit hot. Those materials, when they're separate, are usually recyclable, but once they're fused together, it's really difficult for a recycling center to actually process that material. It's either they don't have the technology to separate the material, or they don't find that it's worth their time.
Even if you tried to recycle your paper cups, places like the Pratt Paper Mill in Staten Island wouldn't be able to process them. That's because they're lined with a thin layer of oil-based polyethylene, a plastic that clogs the paper mill's machinery during the recycling process. So instead, the cups end up in waste streams. Only 4 facilities in the US are able to recycle paper cups. These mills have specialized technology like filters that allow them to process poly-coated paper. 2 of them, Georgia Pacific and Fox River Fiber, are in Wisconsin. That's hundreds of miles away from cities like New York and Seattle, which are some of the only cities that accept paper cups for recycling. Even if Starbucks were to recycle the 4 billion cups it distributes every year, it would only produce less than a week's worth of paper at Georgia Pacific's mill. Transporting cups is expensive and time-consuming relative to the amount of paper that paper cups produce. But infrastructure isn't the only problem. Many people don't throw their paper cup into the recycling bin. There's confusion about what is and what isn't recyclable, and a lot of people are too busy to think about what happens beyond tossing something in the trash.
There's a bin for bottles and cans, there's a bin for landfill. These triangles that you see on things, they don't necessarily mean recycling. Unfortunately, this actually belongs in here.
The paper cup, right? It's just there. It's just available. It's efficient. I'm not being charged more money for it than getting the coffee for here or espresso or cappuccino for here at the coffee shop. It's convenient, it's quick, it's easy. Why spend the time thinking about it if it's just available?
But there are some people who do care.
It was an event called Really Free Market. So basically, it's like if you have something you don't need it, but it's still in like good shape, it's still useful, you brought it here. If you see anything you need it, you can take it. So basically, it's like based on like gift economy. Every time the event's finished, definitely there's like a lot of product like people don't want it, and we have to like separate them. If it's still good, we're gonna donate them, and if it's not good, we try to like recycling as possible. But there's still gonna be like trash, of course. Gonna do the recycling. Oh, okay, nice.
There's actually a lot of things right now. People think they are recyclable, but actually they are not. So the first one, obviously, the paper coffee cup, they go into landfill. And the second one is actually the plastic straw. In New York City, the plastic you can recycling right now, it's only those like a hard plastic. For those kind of like soft plastic, like straw, plastic bag, they just can't be recycled. Of course, like people don't really think about the consequences, like what all these kind of single-use items, like after I eat a thing, I drink the thing from them, where do they go?
One of the reasons that we generate so much trash so constantly is because we are taught and we deeply live by a credo of ephemerality. I can let go of it, I can toss it, and in English it's really lovely, I throw it out. There are patterns of thought and behavior that are connected to disposability, and it gets very hard to be green. It's almost impossible, and certainly daunting. You have to change your relationship to your material world to remember to bring the damn thermos.
Changing the existing recycling infrastructure to recycle paper cups would cost billions of dollars in taxpayer money if implemented nationwide. Entrepreneurs like Bill Levy are trying to make a difference.
Our cups are compostable. I'm excited to introduce them and get people to switch. They're lined with a biomaterial that'll compost. And if everybody does this, if everybody realizes, okay, we've gone too far, we've put way too much plastic in the world, we don't need to have a plastic lid or need to have a plastic lined cup. We can do this in a way that like feels the same, maybe actually even feels better.
We're sort of like start off small, but like go big ahead, and like hopefully one day Starbucks will want our cups and lids.
Environmental activists in the US have known about the paper cup issue for years. Groups like Stand Earth in Seattle are pressuring large corporations like Starbucks to change their unsustainable paper cup product.
We want a better cup. Chant with us. We want a better cup. We want a better cup. Starbucks, it's time to break free from plastic.
Starbucks has spent the last decade proposing sustainable cup solutions, but their track record isn't great. In 2008, Starbucks promised to make a fully recyclable paper cup by 2015. In 2009, Starbucks held their first cup summit and announced the Beta Cup Challenge, an open design competition to design a fully recyclable coffee cup. In 2011, Starbucks held its third and final cup summit. And in 2015, the company failed to meet its 2008 goal. Recently, in 2018, Starbucks announced the Next Gen Cup Challenge.
Starbucks just announced a $10 million initiative to make a fully recyclable cup, but we've heard promises from the company before, so pardon us if we're a little bit skeptical.
Other countries like the UK, Australia, and Taiwan have been aware of the paper cup issue for ages.
And only a tiny proportion of these actually get recycled.
A large majority end up in landfill.
Millions of us are putting these cups into recycling bins. They're not going to be recycled. This is a nightmare.
And while many feel that it's necessary for corporations like Starbucks to produce a recyclable cup, recycling should not be the ultimate goal.
There's a reason why in this famous phrase, reduce, reuse, recycle, recycle is at the end. Not to show that it's not important, but frankly, yes, right, less important than either reducing in the first place, reusing, just using the same product over and over again, right? Your ceramic cup as opposed to the paper cup, for example. And then there's recycle, right, which it takes energy to do. It costs something to recycle, right? Recycling in and of itself, while desirable up to a point, shouldn't be, frankly, a goal in and of itself.
I used to believe individuals taking their cloth tote to the grocery and refusing a plastic bag were kind of delusional, thinking that, oh wow, they saved the planet. You're not going to save the planet that way, but you can become part of a groundswell.